Hey, as you can see, I wasn't really sure that this thing was going to actually start recording, so I'm looking at like, hey. Hey, Nettie here. Welcome to Transcendent Love, where we do all things love and we teach about energy and spirit and love and how all of those things are acceptance of self and how it gets you to your higher self. All things rooted in love. Imagine that. Transcending love. Anyways, I find myself talking a whole lot about, and Spirit has been pushing me even more so the last several weeks to push you guys into the data that is your feelings. Unfortunately, this world and all of the conditioning teaches us away from our feelings. And to be quite honest, if I was in a place um, to manipulate for my good, from a standpoint of like financial gain, I would do that too. There's so much, um, I say the darker side of me would probably do that. But there's so much in that's wrapped up in you not being aware of your feelings and knowing how to feel and what that actually is significant to and of. Feelings, your feelings are data. It's not, emotions generally are produced from from feelings, but they don't have to be. You have 100% control over your emotions, or you should. And that's another thing that we are teaching here is to learn how to manage and control your emotions. But today we are talking about how these feelings make all the difference. It is an it's an information center, a data center. So what happens is more often than not, we feel a feeling, we ruminate, and we get emotions on account of that, instead of getting curious and introspective about it. When we get feelings, it is just our spirit guide, our higher self, the God component of us saying, it's like a jolt. Hey, there's something here that needs to be further explored. And so you're supposed to get curious, not emotional. And so curiosity says, hmm, what's this? Where does this come from? What is making me feel this way? Why is that making me feel this way? Why would that thing, just for a more present and realistic example, I needed to speak with one of my business partners today about some finance things. So we've discussed them a couple months ago, and so we were both aware that they were coming up. So I wanted to reiterate to kind of make sure that we had and communicate more so the fact that we had limited time to do a thing that we needed to do. So I dreaded this conversation because, in general, and probably like many of you, I feel like we've talked about it, so just be ready, and I don't want to have to talk about it again. We both know about it. Be ye also ready. Lord. Okay. But that's not life. That's not how life goes. And it is really an expectation for nothing. It's something that is going to set you up for failure more times than not. Just communicate. It's really not hard. So I had every intention to communicate it. I just didn't want to. But I knew that it was necessary and I wasn't going to not do it because I want things to be very clear so you can run this money, honey. Anyway, so um, initially I text him and automatically I had feelings like I wasn't going to get a response. So this particular partner is not as communicative as I am. He's very different in that way. He doesn't communicate often and he doesn't communicate well when he does. So, um, knowing that bit of information, I didn't think that he was going to respond. Now, I don't be having my notifications on either. I don't want to know when people text me because a lot of notifications, like the notifications on your phone, are easily a distraction and they pull you away from the moment. Even if you don't check it right then, you already have in your mind that it's there and it's tugging on you to check. I just turn them off. I check them whenever I finally see them, when I get to them. So my text messages don't even pop up in my toolbar. And I was in my flow hour, so I was writing. So here I am. I'm feeling stuff, and I'm already aware that this is a trigger. And I'm like, well, what is this? Like, why do I feel this way? So it's based off of a previous event between the two of us. So I'm like, hmm, maybe not. Nothing says that he's not gonna respond for real. I've just made this up in my mind, or so it seems, because I don't want to be ignored. I want to be able to get this information out so that we can have an understanding. And the sooner I can get the information to you, the sooner we can have an understanding and move on. And I can have this part done. This is something that I have that I can check off as done. So the feeling in me produced emotions that I wasn't even expecting. But I started getting emotions instead of, well, I started getting emotions and curiosity at the same time, which if you know, you know. But ultimately I was like, girl, chill out. Why would you feel this way? Have you even checked your phone? You know your ringer's not on. My stuff is on D&D. I look. He's responded. But that still doesn't take me away from the moment because I'm like, well, the conversation still needs to be had. But when I get back from having this conversation, it's time to go deeper on why you felt this way. And this is shadow work. This is the thing that they often refer to as shadow work because, like I said in one of the last videos, that shadow work is some things in there that are underlying that are not main character, but they are the puppet masters of the main character. They make you do a lot of the things that you do. And so it's an underlying subconscious trigger. That is what being triggered is. It's something that's you have a button in there that doesn't need to be in there. And the way you know that there's a button that needs to go is that somebody can push it. I mean, if it's a button, it can be pushed. If there's no button, nobody can push it. There's nothing there to push. So when you think about your trigger and trying to make it make sense to you, just think about it being a button. You got a button in there that is able to be pushed that is unnecessary to have. And anytime somebody push a button and it provokes emotion out of you, it's something in there that needs to be explored that you got to get curious about. So anyway, to take it a bit further, I was like, okay, we've had some unfruitful or unproductive conversations before. Okay, one layer. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to happen this time because we've also had so many other productive conversations. Also, well, you already um, know that and presume yourself to be better with the finances than this person. Okay, cool. Second layer. Still not deep enough. That's not enough data. That's not enough information. Okay, so what else though? I don't I don't like to be ignored. I don't want to be ignored. Okay. Now we getting somewhere. Where does that come from? Why like why why so it's something deeper for sure because you don't make up an entire story about something on the fly because that's what it is when you preparing for something more that hasn't happened yet. You are making up a story on the fly to support your narrative, to support the trigger, to support whatever this ego is telling you is about to take place, that mind you very well may not. So um often does not. So I'm like, okay, well, where does that come from? And many things can be traced back to just what we talked about yesterday, abandonment issues. And of course, we want to blame the parents. You know, they were just the ones in place at the time to take the blame. But where are you not listening to yourself? It's a reminder of a time or times where it'll first hit the parent, and that's where like the parental wounds and that kind of thing comes up. You would have felt, in general, if you've ever felt abandoned, then likely you felt unheard. So it took about 4 levels of depth to get to the actual root of the problem. But often, because we're only getting emotional and not curious, we're spending a lot of time just in this very first quadrant, this very first tier, the top tier that is not top tier. That's not top tier behavior. We've got to be more curious. Curiosity actually leaves more room than being emotional to actually explore and get to the heart of a matter and deal with it for real. There's absolutely nothing wrong with emotions. Emotions are good. Emotions are another form of data. But not necessary to be, it's not necessary to be emotional about everything all the time, always. You can't think straight that way. That is why emotional intelligence is so important. it's hard to find clarity from a deeply emotional place when misguided and unregulated, mismanaged. Because many of us are emotional on a regular basis. And I don't want to say emotional, but we're emotion leaning in some regards because it's required of us. And I say that from a more spirit guided side of things. Often, for some, for many, spirit utilizes those emotions to be able to deliver a message. So for me, if I'm sure that this happens with a lot of empaths, but it presents they're emotional beings for a reason. But when not in alignment or spirit, give me the words, not spirit guided in and through emotion or the emotion of the moment, thank you, is disjointed and imbalanced. And so that makes for an emotional person in the sense that most people consider it. However, when it is spirit guided emotions, it just causes you to be able to more deeply connect with that person at the level they are. It causes you to be able to. We don't have a really good understanding of emotions. Um, Emotional is really just a full and broad range on a spectrum, if you will, of degrees of tech connectivity, not tech connectivity. Thank you. So what happens is what emotional from a more guided and stable place is you're able to take inspired guidance in a targeted fashion in a targeted fashion and action toward a thing. It's a very specific movement. It's a very so this as an example. If there are 10 people lined up here and spirit has brought them to me for a purpose and I am to deliver to them a spirit guided message, I have to be able to tap into that measure of spirit guided emotion to be able to deliver what spirit is saying in a way that resonates with all 10 people. But if I am not more often emotionally regulated, I'm unable to do that. And a lot of emotional dysregulation looks a lot like scattered emotions all the time. Thank you, Spirit. This was who was who was talking about feelings and we got into emotions. Yeah. Spirit. Uh, oh man. When you are emotionally scattered, emotions make you cry sometimes. That was a joke. I mean, like you don't have to be emotionally scattered to cry behind emotions, because emotions are a very human and natural thing to have, but it definitely takes some regulation. It definitely takes work. It's the shadow work that also gets you to a more emotionally regulated place. Um, yeah, so that way you can think clearly in be able to navigate life in a way that is sensible. It makes sense and keeps you out of the dysregulated, like always depressed, always crying, always got something going on, just all over. That's the part of it that don't have nothing to do with your diet and consumption of other things. But that's a part of the emotional regulation and management through what you watch and hear and consume in all fashions of consumption. Be careful out there. Be mindful. Be aware. Be conscious out there of what you're consuming. Because sometimes you're thinking this is just a song. Meanwhile, you are tearing your emotional capacity down. Anyway, Spirit, what we got? I think that's what we got. What we got is what we got. Um, Also, it's so important that you work to be more whole. I was gonna say better. I don't want to say better. It does put you in a better position, but better seems to suggest that you're in a bad place. Nothing about where you are is bad. It's never bad, but it can always be better. Things just are. You have the ability to change them, and we put words to things to help our mood a little bit, but things just are. And the more we understand that, the better off we'll be. But if you never seen surface living egoic movement off of just feeling and getting emotional, then you never know what it's like to be emotionally regulated and just understanding that feelings are data and they just present an opportunity for you to get curious and go on a little adventure within yourself. Just think of shadow work as an adventure within yourself. Even to think of it as shadow work could have a negative connotation for many. But just think about it as your shadow. When you're outside, the sun is out. Your shadow is not good or bad. It's just there. It's just there. Now, it's a different version of you, and depending on the life that you are aspiring to, Is whether you want to maintain some of those things within that shadow or not. It's just there. But don't get it twisted. That it'll control some stuff in real time. Where this sun and the physical shadow is concerned, it's not as pointed as the actual shadow inside. But that example is just or parallel is just to show you that it's not good or bad. Like we don't. It's only us that consider things good or bad. None of it is good or bad. It just is. It's contrast. You can't have darkness without light. You can't you can't be healed and have not ever been unhealed. Like you just it's a complementary, harmonious thing. All of life is, and it's a beautiful harmony, beautifully orchestrated to be. I don't even remember what I don't remember that last part, but it's okay. Spirit knew, spirit guided, and I asked. What I do know is that I asked when I thought I was done, but the stuff between there and here, um, it'll be for the people that it's for, and the people will get it that need to. But yeah, let's go on in greatness, in wholeness, in happiness, in healthiness, and more aware and curious of the adventures that the feelings take us on. Allow your feelings. Oh, shit. Thank you, Spirit. If this world has free reign to teach you away from your feelings, it has all power to keep you stuck and in lack in all of the ways. Because you are not taking care of yourself in that way. You're not connecting with yourself in that way. If you don't connect with yourself on this tip, then you are not growing. You won't be able to grow. You won't be able to be a conscious individual. You won't be able to be uh, guided by spirit in the fullness of your capacity because you are drunken by this world's convictions on feelings. Men, this is so important because this world teaches women to lean into their feelings. So much so that it is expected for women to be emotional. It is expected for women to be highly intuitive. But you guys are intuitive as well. You all have these capacities as well. But the problem is that this world has reserved these rights for women. They teach you away from your feelings. They teach you away from your emotions, and you cannot be clearly guided without them. You cannot lead your household without them. You cannot be an efficient and adequate leader without them. But they know that. They know that. You have to explore and consider, take your feelings and be curious about them and grow in spite of the conditioning. We are all emotional creatures. We have been created this way. And not emotional to the point of dysregulation. And also, newsflash, unless you've worked on it, you're still very much emotional. but they make you think that you're not. All of these unhinged actions that we see and that are on full display as what people will be calling toxic masculinity and whatever, all of those things are stemming and derived from a very emotional place, and it's just expressed that way. Everybody wants to call it something else because it just further drives the wedge between the genders. But I need you to hear this with your spirit. This don't have nothing to do with gender wars. You are in a fight for your life. You are in a fight for your betterment, your growth, in all of your capacity that you were created and chosen to come here for. You cannot reach your maximum capacity without becoming curious about your feelings and emotions and making this connection with spirit. That is where your guidance lies. You are so much more powerful when you are connected and you are conscious. This world wants to keep you unconscious. You are powerful. You are so powerful. And it is so important. Fellas, tap into this spirit guided part of you, this data center that is your feelings. Get curious, get connected, and your life takes off. It takes off. You begin to learn to love yourself in a way that has been reserved for women. You are still very much being taught to look for outside of yourself, in a woman, even for what is inside. We're all being taught that, but my focus is on men right now because this is the expectation of women. We are groomed and nurtured from the very start to feel our feelings and our emotions. You all are not. You are encouraged to suppress, diminish, dismantle yourself in this way. Can you see the benefit of that? Who benefits from that? And then you just going along to get along always, not having an opinion about nothing, not just chalking all of these different things that you literally have access to and the power to take control of and control for yourself, just reserving them all for women. That's where the gap is. That's where the issue lies because y'all y'all deserve nurturing as well. And internally you know that. So that feeling that you feel when it's the red pill, blue pill shit and all this angst toward the other gender, that it's that. And you get all swelled up because women this and women that is data. Why do you feel that way about them? Why does that bother you? More often because we are afforded things that the world does not afford you, but you can afford yourself those things. And the more you afford yourself those things because you know that you are worthy and deserving of all the emotional capacity and feeling and intuitivity and everything. It's it's full access to you is what you've been denied from the outside, and everyone has bought into it. You deserve nurturing. You deserve compassion. You deserve softness. You deserve tenderness. You deserve to be able to communicate, to express yourself more fully, and not lock down to save face and keep peace. Now, there's a way to communicate your needs. You have needs, and they are legit needs. And you are worthy and deserving to have those needs met. But nobody is going to see that until you do. Until you take your control and begin to explore from within, this world will not ever give you that. So you have to tap in and you have to connect to yourself in that way. And everything around you changes. Hmm. Get the love that you deserve first from yourself. From yourself. All of this gentleness. Listen, one of the major levels up in masculinity is this perfect harmony that is femininity. They are in synchrony. It is a beautiful dance. This is what creates the strongest of leaders, a well balance of energy. You are comprised of both feminine and masculine energy. We all are. And the whole toxic masculinity situation that comes from an imbalance of the two energies together. Balance it out for yourself. Your life gonna change. Your life is gonna change. Anyway, I hope y'all get this. Cause I see this, and I hate this for men. I hate that they've gotten, you've gotten the shorter end of the stick. When there was a way to give an equal proportion of the stick. It's so unfortunate. And this thing is causing so many suffrage. But it's not, when you see it and you get into it, watch how your life change. Watch how your life change. Self-care, like all the things. All the things that this world will tell you, oh, that's soft. Pause, pause, pause. Oh, you getting a facial? He got a face, don't he? That shit don't be making no sense. It's frowned upon for you to take care of yourself. Pay attention to all of this stuff. Oh, you got a whole skincare routine? That's gay. That's feminine. You got skin, don't you? This shit don't be making no sense. But pay attention. When you are drunken by this world, this shit begins to make sense to you. It don't, think about it below the surface. Take it further. Take it further. This is why This is why they want y'all to be logical, because logic defies spirituality. Logic is often a distraction from the things that are actually real and the things that are actually taking place. A lot of times, logic inebriates you, it puts you in a drunken state. And that's not saying that there's no place for logic and that you shouldn't be logical at times. It's not a coverall. Dominantly or predominantly using logic is to your detriment because you're not using your other spirit guided navigational tools. You're not taking the data that is given to you because logic. Where does logic even come from? Whose logic is it anyway? Where did that logic come from? These are the kind of questionings. This is the curiosity that is necessary. Who made up the logic? Why is logic so important for men? Nobody tells, like, y'all are encouraged to be more logical. And many of y'all are like, you want the woman to be more logical because some of the shit seems so delusional. And so it's a fight. But sometimes when you start thinking about some of that stuff in more depth, you be like, oh shit. Her point of view kind of do make sense. Or wait, why didn't I see that? Because of logic. Often. Now, sometimes her shit don't make no sense now. let us not let us not act like it always be making sense. Sometimes this shit don't make sense. But sometimes it's to be explored. But even in this same regard, sometimes her shit don't be seeming like it make no sense until you have her explain it to you. And then in those times where she explains it and you be like, I ain't never thought about it that way. You haven't been trained to think about it that way. Often, this world wants y'all to be so goddamn shallow to destroy you. To keep you on the surface, to make your head hurt at the thought of thinking deeper. How is that beneficial? Like, just start thinking about that. Who benefits from this? Damn sure not you. Anyway, I love y'all to pieces, I do. And I hope that this message helps you to see your worth, that you are deserving. You came here like that. It ain't shit you got to do to earn that. And you can have feelings and you can have emotions. Get curious about these feelings, men and women. The last part of this message has been mostly geared toward men, and for good reason. Spirit has been teaching me and showing me this for so many years at this point. And only now is it coming out in a recorded message. I think I tapped on it just a little bit in some of the other messages, maybe at least one other message, but I'm grateful that this message finally made it to the light. Because I love y'all and I want y'all to be great. I do. And in the way that you best see fit, in the fullness of who you are when you find out who. Anyways, love and light. Go on and be great. Love yourself and love somebody else today. But mostly love yourself for real. Anyway, till next time. Bye.